Most people like a good ghost story. Sitting around a campfire, in a candlelit room, or in your underwear staring at a YouTube video about hauntings while you wonder what the hell you're doing with your life. Don't even worry about it. You're in the right place. You're right where you need to be. Don't even think about it. You maybe even had a personal experience with the paranormal. A Hatman encounter, a door that slammed when you never even touched it, or a vision of something horrible or unexplained. In an ever-increasingly skeptical world, sometimes it is super easy to bypass that someone might be tied into the supernatural. Today we're going to take a look at a figure, and we are going to look at it from another angle. Instead of going down the line of he was severely mentally disturbed, which he was, or that he had been huffing chemicals and had brain damage because of it, which he did, or that his parents abused him to such an extent that it caused some serious social disabilities, which they absolutely did. Instead, we're going to look at it from his perspective. Today, we're going to be talking about the shoemaker, Joseph Kallinger. What if every day of your life was a haunted experience? The feeling you're being watched by something not of this world. Joseph Kallinger was born in Philadelphia to young parents. After his father left, his mother had no choice but to put him into foster care, where at the age of 2, he was adopted by Austrian immigrants Stephen and Anna Kallinger. Young Joseph didn't have the most enviable life with the Kallingers, who took the boy in for the sole purpose to train him in the skills to take over the family business of shoemaking. His parents would scoff when other families would try to arrange play dates. His mother would say, "He is here to work, not play." Stephen had a heavy hand in both the boy's lessons and his punishments, beatings, and threats of mutilation. At night, Joseph would hear voices, muffled and far off. It wasn't his parents. He knew their voices all too well. It was someone or something else. As Joseph grew, he began to rebel. He dreamt of being in the theater, as a playwright or an actor. His parents didn't approve of this. Even when he got the role of Ebenezer Scrooge at a YMCA production of A Christmas Carol, his parents mocked him and eventually forbid him from participating. Joseph, nearing manhood, finally found a part of himself that had been missing. It wasn't in the theater, but it was love. When Kallinger was 15 years old, he met his future wife, Hilda Bergman. And despite his parents saying that he could not see her, he eventually married her and fathered 2 children. Even through the birth of their first 2 children, though, Joseph kept hearing the voices, which would grow loud enough to almost understand at times. Beyond that, he had become a man of his father's image. Hilda, unwilling and unable to subject herself or her children to the abuse, left Joseph. Isolated in his misery, the voices Joseph heard began becoming clearer. Joseph desperately tried to find where the voices were coming from. He smashed holes through walls, screamed out the windows, and began digging into the dirt floor of the cellar to no avail. He had not been eating or sleeping well, his hair had begun to thin, and he seemed distracted. Doctors who Joseph went to meet with explained it was likely stress from the divorce. Not long after this, though, Joseph met the daughter of one of his customers at the shoe repair store he had opened. Soon they were married, and they had 6 children of their own. The voices Joseph had learned to live with. He did his best to ignore them. However, they got especially overwhelming when Elizabeth, or one of the children, broke the rules. The voices would shout to Joseph. Joseph listened to them. He was afraid to ignore what they had to say, even when they told him to burn his own home to the ground. One early morning just before dawn, as Joseph was arriving at his store, he was frozen in his tracks by the sight that hung in front of his door. A disembodied head called to him, claiming to be the speaker for God. It told him not enough had been done to keep his family pure, that he had been given a mission to save mankind, that his skills were needed to cure the world. Joseph took this command with great ease. Within days, he had tracked down and killed a 16-year-old, cutting off his genitals. His sons trusted Joseph's words. They trusted the commandments from the voices that spoke to Joseph, or at least obeyed them. When crazy daddy wants to be crazy, you gotta let him do it. After weeks of attempting to follow the spirit's orders, the head appeared before Joseph in the now 20-foot pit he had dug in the cellar. It told him he was not doing enough, and that he needed to offer a son as recompense. And with the help of one of his other sons, they convinced his 16-year-old to be chained to a ladder under the guise of having photographs taken, who was then pushed into a puddle of stagnant water at an abandoned construction site. Shortly after the death of his son by the spirit's command, Joseph was given a vision. It was of a grand feast, and he was the waiter. He served plates to bound guests as they smiled with anticipation. When he looked to see what it was he was serving, it was the flesh of a nude and disemboweled woman. Joseph knew this was an order from God, and the next day, with the help of his son, they attacked a family, robbing, raping, and killing several guests. Police caught up to the pair quickly. During interrogation, Joseph was seen shouting at an invisible force as police tried to question him. He told them fantastical stories of visions and voices, but the police wouldn't listen. He was sentenced for his crimes and sent to a dark, isolated cell to spend the rest of his days, only kept company by the screaming, mocking voices of his failures. That is the story of Joseph Kallinger. I'd love to hear what you think down in the comments. If you have any ideas for episodes, either leave them in the comments or send an email to the link in the description. Don't listen to the voices, and remember to like, follow, and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. And until next time, toodaloo.